next show, Aaron might need some life insurance after going four-wheel driving on Gunbower Island. And don't forget your tissues because it's our final episode and segment later on in the show. But right now, let's go check out some islands on the Gippsland Lakes. The Gippsland Lakes are approximately 3.5 to 4 hours drive from Melbourne CBD and was once a retreat only for the wealthy. Many of the homesteads scattered on the hilltops and sheltered islands were summer retreats for those who wanted to escape the city buzz. But nowadays, anyone can tour the region, and that's what we'll be doing today. Today we're going on a sea safari with our lovely skipper Pete, and he's going to show us 3 of the islands around the Gippsland Lakes. So where are you going to take us today, Pete?
All right, we're going to go for a bit of a cruise around the lakes, the Gippsland Lakes.
Wonderful.
Just the eastern end. We're going to look at 3 different islands today. So it's Flanagan, Rigby and Bullock Island. They're all quite different. They're all formed about 5,000 years ago. They're all made of sand, but they've all got different purposes.
Fantastic.
Departures are from the Post Office Boardwalk or the North Arm Jetty. It's an educational experience which doesn't just include staying on the boat. There are guided walks on land, and Pete will also help you find seabirds and unique marine life.
Well, this island over on the left here, this is Flanagan Island. It's about 4 kilometres long. It's a private island, so you can't camp on it. There's no access to it. It's run as a goat farm, so there's hundreds of goats on the island. Unfortunately, I don't think we're going to see many today. I think they're hiding away behind the wind, keep out of the wind. But it is an interesting island in the sense of it's always been privately owned, but no one's ever lived on it. So it's never had a house or anything, only other sort of people living there. The island itself is a good wildlife sanctuary, even though it is privately owned. We get a lot of seabirds on here, so swans, terns, the little hooded plover, which is quite a special bird. It's rare and endangered, but it also lives along the beaches here.
The island's so close to Fraser Island. Is it actually a separate island?
Yes, well there's 3 islands here, but Fraser and Flanagan are very close. They've always been separate, even since they've been formed 5,000 years ago. There's always been a channel between them. So there's always this small gap. Many years ago they put a small bridge across, but that fell down. But otherwise it is a separate island, yes.
Unfortunately, we didn't get to see the population of goats today, but Pete assures me they are there.
These are the sand dunes of Rigby Island. Rigby Island's about 4 kilometres long. It's a wildlife sanctuary. It's got various animals here, kangaroos, wallabies, deer, also a lot of seabirds along the edge. The sand dunes themselves, very popular, great place to come here on a sunny day. There's a nice deep dune around the corner, very popular for people to slide up and down on.
Do you reckon I can have a go?
Oh yes, if you like. It's a bit windy today, you might get a bit of sand in your face, but it is a very popular spot and place to do.
Fantastic. What else can you tell us?
The island itself, the sand dunes are actually created by dredging, so they're not a natural process. They've been artificially created from dredging the channels over the last 30, 40 years.
Normally you're supposed to use a boogie board or some cardboard, but I've only got this today, so we'll see how we go. Wish me luck. Oh, that kind of hurt. Nah, I think I've got the wrong equipment.
Part of the island is reserved as a little tern habitat. The little terns have been seriously endangered, but with the protection effort of their habitat here, the numbers are now increasing.
On Rigby Island there's quite a little group of hog deer. They were brought out to Australia about 100 years ago. They've been living on the island quite happily. They're a great little animal. They're about the size of a goat. They're dark red in colour. Yeah, the male ones have got big antlers on the top, so they look the part, but they're very timid. They're very hard to see, but they have a great life over there, just wandering around the sand or through the bush. So this is the commercial port of Lakes entrance. It's on Bullock Island. It's a man-made island. It's been growing in size for the last 50 years. It's a great place for industrial type activities. We've got the fish processing factory. We've got a port here that's set up for cleaning and maintenance of fishing boats in particular. And fishing boats may come from Sydney, they may come from South Gippsland, just to be cleaned and tidied up and repainted and put back in the water.
The island is home to the Lakes Entrance Fishermen's Co-op. The plant was opened in 1968 and created a way for fishermen to unload, store and dispatch their catch. This way it made it fresh to market where previously all of this had been problematic.
The bridge over there, that's the access onto Bullock Island. It's the only way on. Being an industrial port, of course, they need a strong bridge to get all the trucks and all the equipment on.
If you want to throw a line in to catch some fish but you don't want to get off the mainland, then Bullock Island is the perfect place to be. And that is because it's joined to the mainland by the bridge.
This hefty looking machine is the April Hamer. The big suction dredge was built in New South Wales and worked along the Victorian coast until 1977, when it was moved here because of the huge improvement it made to the entrance and shipping channel.
The other large boat there is the orange one. It's a tugboat. It's just stored here for various reasons. It could be used down to Bass Strait, it could be used in Melbourne or Sydney, and sometimes it may be here just for emergency use. The building over there on the left, that's a TAFE college. It's run as a training college for anybody who wants to work on a fishing boat. So if you want to be the skipper, the navigator, the engineer, you've got to spend a few weeks or a few months there getting your qualifications. It's the only college in this part of Victoria, so students will come down from Melbourne, they may even come from Sydney, just to spend a few weeks there. The important thing is to get that on the water training, and that's why it's located in the Lakes entrance.
I hope you enjoyed our sea safari as much as I did. That's it from the Gippsland Lakes.
Gunbower Island Forest Drive is a leisurely half-day journey past great treasures like Wattle Creek, an almost rainforest like damp and moss-covered area which is a refuge for many small animals and birds.
But this is not going to be a Sunday drive, there won't be a picnic, and the tranquility of the forest is the last thing that's going to be on my mind. Today we're going to be taking a four-wheel drive tour of Gunbower Island with the team from 4-Wheel Drive TV. And today, we're taking things off-road.
Gunbower Island near Kahuna is a 3-hour drive from Melbourne and lies on the floodplain between the Murray River and Gunbower Creek. It has a water frontage of 130 kilometres and the 20,000 hectares of state forest cover about 80% of the island.
Simon Christie from 4-Wheel Drive TV. Now Simon, you've got 3 4-wheel drive shows that you're producing at the moment. Can you tell us a little bit about those?
We have been very busy over the last few years. We've got 4-Wheel Drive TV, which is a crossover between lifestyle and motorsport in the 4-wheel drive scene right across Australia and New Zealand. We've got Your 4x4, more of a touring and destination program. It's set up to let the older folks know where they can go 4-wheel driving, but we're starting to see a lot of the younger people interested in that as well, getting out, doing some touring, some family-based 4-wheel driving. And then we've got the new show, Simon Christie's 4-Wheel Drive Pro Tips. And that show is all about education. What sort of things you need to put on your 4-wheel drive, how to drive your 4-wheel drive, where you can take it 4-wheel driving. It's really about setting it up for the right sort of tracks. So across the 4-wheel drive scene, we've just about got it all covered.
4-wheel driving and trail bike riding are popular on many of the Gunbower and Barmer State Forest roads and tracks. Preferred stop-off points on Gunbower include the site of Gray's Mill, Wattle Creek, and the historic Timber Cutters Steps.
4-wheel drive vehicles are designed to tackle obstacles that standard vehicles simply can't navigate. However, just by owning a 4-wheel drive vehicle doesn't mean that you know how to operate it safely.
Driving a 4-wheel drive vehicle requires a fair degree of understanding about the mechanics of the transmission and the effects that water and dust can have on safety.
Now I understand safety, it's all about the tyres, so can you tell us a little bit about the various types of tyres you use for the different terrains you cross?
Well, the key to any four-wheel driving is definitely one word, it's traction. It's being able to motivate the vehicle, keep that momentum going and get you safely across any type of terrain. When you're talking about tyres, there are three distinct tyre treads, and that would be the highway terrain, the all-terrain and the mud terrain. Now simply put, the mud terrain has big open blocks biting deep down into mud, rocks, sand, any type of terrain. They'll give you maximum bite, maximum traction. We then go to the all-terrain, which is typically halfway between a highway terrain and a mud terrain. We've then got the highway tyre, which is generally suited to four-wheel drives that don't go off-road at all, and that's typically going to give you the longest lasting tyre.
That's for the Touareg tractors.
The Touareg tractors, absolutely.
Now the last thing you want to do when you're out four-wheel driving is get stuck anywhere, so what are the essential types of tools that you need for vehicle recovery?
There are two really critical aspects of recovery, and those are you travelling alone or are you travelling with other vehicles? Generally, most four-wheel drivers, for safety reasons, should travel with other vehicles. But if you're a highly experienced four-wheel driver, then you certainly want to get yourself into a situation where you are very self-resourceful, and the key to that is having a winch. They're an awesome way, if you know how to use it, if you're experienced, to get your vehicle out of generally most situations you'll come across in the bush.
We're around the back to have a look at the rest of the recovery gear. Now you've got quite a bit of stuff here, but it's all on top, it's not buried, you've got easy access.
Well, that's the part about it, access. Now you notice coming in through on Gunbower Island that there are a lot of campers here. The majority of those campers have got a four-wheel drive, but they've really got a four-wheel drive for the carry space, and this is where a four-wheel drive really comes into its own. This is your basic recovery kit. Now whether you're travelling alone or you're travelling in a group of vehicles, you should always have your own recovery gear. For winching, we've got a snatch block. This will double the effectiveness of the winch. We've got a tree trunk protector. You never ever wrap a winch cable or a winch rope around a tree. It will damage and kill that tree possibly. And we've got some rated D shackles so that we're really adaptable in the way that we can connect these straps to a variety of vehicles, and they must be connected to rated recovery points that are mounted on the chassis of the vehicle.
If you've never used a snatch strap, winch or dead man anchor and have no idea what these things are, then it's a good idea to get onto a four-wheel drive driver training course where you can get your hands on experience with vehicle recovery tools.
So Simon, we've got Miranda here who's going to give us a quick demo of the best type of technique to do the descents and the ascents up the hills here. Can you run us through the steps?
Well, Miranda's got a lot of experience. This is her own vehicle. She knows it very, very well, and she's a very capable four-wheel driver. But the whole point about four-wheel driving, and most terrains you'll face, is just nice, controlled momentum. Coming here to the descent, Miranda's lined herself up. She's assessed the terrain. She's keeping it nice and smooth, only lightly on the brake. You never want to be jamming on the brake, and you never want to be taking it out of drive or out of gear. Don't ride your clutch. So that's the key to it, being nice and smooth.
So Simon, we've seen Miranda do her thing. We're here on the Murray on the beautiful Gunbower Island, and I've heard it's good for many things, including four-wheel driving. Have you ever been here yourself?
Aaron, I had no idea until you guys approached me that there was even an island in Australia, in Victoria. So I'm very impressed, first time here, and very keen to have a look around.
Let's do it. So what sort of preparation do you need to complete for the vehicle itself before taking it through water?
The first issue with water is, can you actually engage that water? Can you tractably pass through it? If it's too deep, the vehicle's going to become swamped and washed away. It's certainly a very dangerous situation to be in. Walk the obstacle, make sure that it's got a good solid grounding. You'll then be able to drive through safely if it's not too deep. So once again, it all comes down to common sense. Assess the situation, understand whether your skills and your vehicle are up to the task, and you'll safely get through the obstacle.
River crossings are a big part of four-wheel driving. And in Victoria, we're particularly lucky because in Northern Australia, far north Queensland, the Kimberley and the top end, they've also got to contend with the crocs. So getting stalled in the middle of the river and retrieving your vehicle is probably the last thing you worry about. Up there, they usually just backtrack or safely go across in a convoy.
Perhaps the most notorious challenge in the outback is bull dust. Bull dust is a fine talcum powdered dust that is very common on outback Australian tracks. It often occurs in areas where the track gets wet and then dries and breaks up into fine dust. Bull dust is very deceptive. Looking at your front windscreen, it looks like smooth, hard patches, but in fact, it's usually a fine covering of dust over a deep, deep hole. It can cause damage if sucked into engines too, so in very dusty areas, you should have a filter on your air intake and check it regularly.
The initial instinct is to treat bull dust as if it was sand, which could be a fatal mistake. You should never deflate your tyres in that kind of terrain because beneath that powdery surface can be a rock-hard base. I'm told the best option is to select a high range and maintain a constant speed of 60 to 80 kilometres per hour. So can you run us through a few of the accessories that you've got yourself decked out with on this particular vehicle?
Certainly, Aaron. I think one of the key things, as the cameraman in the back is finding, you need a good quality suspension. Suspension is going to give you more clearance in the vehicle. It's going to give you better articulation, so the wheels are more likely to stay on the ground and drop into holes and lift up over holes and obstacles. It's going to give you better approach and departure angles, and it's going to give you a far more comfortable ride. But a good quality suspension will do more than that. It will improve the handling of the vehicle overall, at speed, cornering, braking, steering, etc.
What's the biggest mistake that people make in four-wheel driving?
Well, certainly a lot of people do make a lot of mistakes, but I think the biggest thing for beginners is going out and buying a four-wheel drive and thinking that that's a license to go anywhere, or that it automatically gives them the skills and the ability to go anywhere, and it certainly doesn't. So the best advice for anybody who's interested in getting into four-wheel driving is to go out and join a four-wheel drive club, get involved with a group of four-wheel drivers, or do a driver education course. You really need to understand how to get the best out of your vehicle and how to successfully, how to capably, how to skillfully tackle many different terrains.
Well, that's all the bull dust we have time for from here at Gunbower Island. It's been a long, rocky road with many a pothole. Now it's time to refuel and get some food. Rocky road.
Unfortunately, we're here today to present the very final episode and the last segment of Victoria's Islands after travelling around the state for 13 weeks.
We've had a great time, and this is the prime time right now for us to have a little bit of a chat with the viewers at home and fill them in on all of the stories from behind the scenes and our favourite memories of each segment that we've hosted on the show.
Bit of goss.
There's a little bit of goss for you. The crew's been fantastic. It's like having little mini road trips every weekend with these guys, and we've really established some great friendships. And to think, Kaz, I didn't even like you at the start.
Well, probably not surprisingly, because I do seem to beat you at everything we do.
Yeah.
I seem to recall mini golf, fishing competition, and go-karting around Phillip Island.
That's true. That's true.
Sorry about that. Well, I'm going to be very nice and let you go first. Tell us some of your favourite moments.
Well, my favourite moments, essentially, I absolutely loved right at the start of the series when I got to meet James Freshville from Freshville Heaney Boats, and I went for a ride in his speedboat that was a wooden handmade speedboat. I loved that. I also loved flying over the top of the Great Ocean Road. The Bay of Islands was brilliant, seeing the 12 Apostles, looking down at all the little surfers like they were ants and seeing them catch waves. And of more recent times, the shallow shipwreck snorkel that I did over Tulleberger Island.
Well, probably one of my most memorable moments was back in episode 8 when we were on Phillip Island. I was trying to do my surfing segment. I'm not too good at surfing, as you're going to see shortly, but the weather was ridiculous and the poor crew was saturated. So let's have a look. One of my other special moments was back in episode 5 when we got to meet Darren on Mulcra Island. Now he's a traditional owner's representative. He took us around the island, but we also got to know a little bit about his own personal history. But it was a great history lesson. It was much better than any other classroom. So let's have a look at this.
A nice little vegetable here, we've got peas.
Peas?
Yeah, homegrown peas, or bush-grown peas.
For free, perfect.
Yeah, our old people used to eat lots of these. You get them grown near the waterways. So open them up and they just taste exactly the same
they're so little.
as a pea. Yep.
Okay. What's this called?
This is Swansonia peas.
Yeah.
Yep. Hey.
Not bad. You have to have quite a few of them though to fill
Yes,
up, I'm
they're
assuming.
rather small.
They're very small. So they say you shouldn't be working with children or animals on television, but throughout the series I've definitely managed to work with both.
What do you mean by that?
The animals were such wonderful experiences for me, like meeting the Maremma dogs that protect the little penguins there on Middle Island, or what about thousands upon thousands of Australian fur seals at Lady Julia Percy Island? But for me, my favourite was heading back to my roots at the Churchill Heritage Farm, and trust me, the things we do for a good shot.
Where are you going, old fella? You good?
I'm very comfortable around the sheep, but not necessarily some of the other animals.
Oh, Borisy. She doesn't like you, mate. What's going on, huh?
Now that I've
You going to sit on the fence for me? There you go. Sit on the fence. Just sit on the fence. That's it. Head up, boy.
Oh, now that's...
At the start of the series, we promised you that we'd be introducing you to some interesting characters along the way, and I think we've delivered on that promise. Let's take a look.
You've seen boats in pieces. I think it's time you see the real McCoy. I think you should come and meet Rosita. She's sex on water.
And this little beautiful purple flower you see is the wild pigface flower. So yeah, it's...
We get a few of those at local pubs around Melbourne.
I'm sure you do.
Now, we've all heard a great fishing story about the one that got away. Tell me yours, we've got to hear it.
We're talking about fish that got away or girls that got away?
Well, how much time have you got?
If you want to talk about fish that got away, it's going to take all day because I've lost plenty.
Yeah.
But yeah, girls that got away, not too many.
But you're happily married, I heard.
That's right.
So that's all right. Bit
So-
like the ones you've got in there.
Yeah, thank you. So it's good fun and yeah, certainly creative because you just don't know what you're going to get.
This here is a Robinson R44 helicopter made in Torrance, California in the States. The world's most popular helicopter. There's more of these than any other kind. So.
And where are the emergency exits?
At the side.
Okay, very good. Very good. Now I'm going to go out on a limb here. Your favourite colour is green.
Oh, really? What gave you that idea?
No, just
Now, tell us a little bit about your history. How long have you been doing it for?
I've been racing for 18 years. I started in go-karting.
Go-karting, I was going to say. Most people do.
Raced pretty much everything, V8 supercars, Formula 3, whatever you can think of, I've raced it.
fantastic. All right, so you were just referring before to this is the deli section.
This is the deli, yes. This is cabana, salami leg ham, spit roast, Christmas dinner, and lucky he's still here.
So we have some more behind the scenes goss for you. Did you ever notice that we're always in our summer gear, but sometimes when we're interviewing our guests, they're actually totally rugged up?
This is because at the start of the season, we had to shoot in winter. And in between these clips, Karen had to get a blanket wrapped around her from the crew. I did as well, actually. I wasn't that tough. But you'll see her shivering in this clip. Let's take a look. Now, there's plenty of options to get around the island, but unless you're a local, driving cars isn't one of them. You can take a tour bus, you can go on a leisurely walk or a hike, but we're planning to see a little bit more of the island. So, there's no better way to do that than on two wheels. From extreme cold to extreme heat, we had a 46-degree day up in Mildura when we were filming the Lock Island sequence on the paddle steamer. After we finished up, I jumped into the car to put my sunglasses on, only to find that the arms had melted and I burnt behind my ears.
Well, what about me on the way to Lady Julia Percy Island? I was actually physically seasick, and it's pretty hard to look nice in front of the camera when you're looking a bit green in the face.
Cut to episode 7 at Mud Islands, and everything was going fine until the tide wasn't right for us. The boat had to anchor offshore, and the crew and I all had to strip down to our underwear and wade ashore. This would have been fine, except for the fact that when I put my shorts back on, I had a wet bum. I couldn't do any walkaway shots from the camera. However, thanks to our producers, I think one snuck in.
I have a question for you, Aaron. Exactly how much chocolate did you consume when we went to Panny's Amazing World of Chocolate? Because it was very interesting how the scales tipped as soon as you hopped on. Squeeze in nice and tight. See it? Can we lift it? We're nearly lifted again!
Back in episode 11, I have a favourite one of you, Kaz, when you almost stepped on one of Clive's precious wildflowers.
You're standing there very close to, right here we've got 3 species of this herbaceae, this one here with its great big yellow flowers.
Well, that brings us to the end of the series for Victoria's Islands, but I hope you guys at home have had as much fun watching as we've had making it.
Time for us to go on holidays. So that's it from us and our hardworking crew. Thank you so much for watching
Victoria's Islands.